Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Krashy, and today I wanted to bring a fun discussion video to the table to talk a little bit about our favorite legendary bird, Zapdos. Now, I think it's crazy. I've probably made at least a couple videos about Zapdos in the past. My opinion about Zapdos has changed a little bit over, over the months that this game has been out, and I'm here to bring you another opinion and some ideas. So, with the current state of the game, let me just give you the kind of meat and potatoes of it. With the current state of the game, the rank system, and the matchmaking, I don't really like how Zapdos is working. Now, competitively, I have no complaints with Zapdos. I think that it's an important thing for teams to have to manage. It's fine. It's not the best thing I think that they could have come up with, or maybe even the best thing for the game, but I think that it's fine. It's not really a problem. But the more solo queue you play, and the more you kind of realize how easily games can be completely flipped, I see that perspective again. I kind of feel that, oh damn, the game's over, right? I'm not here to say, oh, everything in the first 8 minutes is invalidated. I don't really care for that perspective, but I do think it's important that we have dialogue, we share opinions and ideas. And so today I wanted to bring you 3 ideas for a Zapdos change. Now, the first and biggest idea for a change, this is a blanket idea. I would love to see this across the board. We've talked about it in previous videos, but I would love to see the Zapdos capture, and actually for like Rotom and Dreadnought as well, be a capture point. Not a last hit capture, but a capture point that spawns on the ground and would require you to stand in that circle uncontested in order to secure it. So it doesn't matter which person hits it last, but it would actually force a team fight on the actual capture point. Now, this is something that's been used in a Blizzard MOBA called Heroes of the Storm. If you're not familiar, it's really, really fun to watch. It changes the meta a little bit. Things like, for example, like block on Snorlax would be really, really strong for trying to push people off. Things like full heal would be incredibly strong, so that way you're not getting CC'd and you have to have it so you can stay in dogpile on the fight. It'd be really, really fun. But that aside, I do like that idea of a change. I wanted to kind of toss that in at the very front. Let's go ahead and jump into my 3 ideas, and stay tuned to the end because I do have a 4th idea as well. So no particular order, just wanted to make these ideas. Idea number 1 is that Zapdos has a 50%, gives you a 50% ult charge and gives you double scoring speed. So the idea behind this one, oh, and for the sake of saying really quickly, double points would stay. I like double points. I think that it's important. Otherwise, I'm worried that like score comp and just heavy scoring would take over the entire game. So double points is going to stay. But yeah, for this idea, you would get 50% ult charge and you would have double scoring speed. So this is like the quick play Regigigas buff where you get the double scoring speed. But also, if you win a fight and then you like secure Zapdos and you would use the Unite move, this would give you 50% of that ult charge back, that Unite move back, and then you could farm up a little bit and then make like a push with this. So you have the double scoring speed for the remainder of the game, and you would have, potentially the ability to get more Unite moves up to make a push to try to close out the game or to defend your goals, whatever you need to do. I think this idea is really sensible and it's simple. It plays on the scoring part of what Zapdos does now without being, the instant dunks. And all of these ideas that I kind of made them to be very different from each other, so we could kind of pick and choose what parts of each of these ideas we like and even make an idea. So let me know in the comments down below what idea you like, or what your idea would be, or how you would even mix and match my ideas. Alright, idea number 2 is to give the buff, the Zapdos buff, the electric buff, whatever we want to call it, but to give the players a buff. So the team that would secure and capture Zapdos would get a plus 30 attack buff, a plus 40 SP attack buff, and then the enemy goals would do 50% healing. So now it's about closing out the game, right? It's about being able to fight and finish the game. So you get 1/3 of an attack weight, that's kind of what I was going for, and you get 1/3 of SP attack specs. So this is just buff, right? You get to do more damage as a team because your team secured it, and the enemy goals would heal for 50% of their current healing, their total healing that they normally have. So this is all about the, hey, you secured Zapdos, either go and defend if your team is the one that's winning, or try to push your lead further, or push and close out the game, try to take the game back. I think this idea is probably my favorite because it's just a, hey, we secured the boss, now let's see what we can do with it. It requires good macro play, it requires you to have to make decisions and play as a team to close out the game. All right, idea number 3, And this one's a cool one, probably my least favorite of the ideas that I made, but this one is when you secure Zapdos, your team instantly gets a plus 100 to your Eos energy score, so it could kind of swing the game a little bit, but not too much. Plus 100, still a substantial amount. But after secured, Zapdos spawns in the most vulnerable lane. So whichever lane is like pushed the most, has like less goals, Zapdos would spawn in the 50% line of the map and would push. And so I put in quotes, you know, Zapdos Rotom. So this is like a boss mechanic from like Heroes of the Storm, or this is like Rotom, how Rotom works, where it pushes, and it would have its own like fight mechanics too, so kind of like what it does now, the AoE knock up and the kind of like the beam of damage that it does. And so the point with this one would be kind of like the electric buff, where you're like pushing forward to close out the game, but this is like you're doing it with Zapdos, so they have to like worry about Zapdos, they have to worry about you. If Zapdos does hit a goal, maybe that goal does become like fully capped, or scores a bunch of energy instantaneously, or becomes an instant goal. I don't really know, I hadn't really thought that far into it yet. But this one is all about the whichever team secures Zapdos and captures Zapdos really has that final push, that big moment where it's like, you know what, all right, we have to defend this, or you know what, we got to close this out kind of feeling. So less macro dependent than say the electric buff idea, where you just get a buff and you have to make a decision. This one is like a decision has been made, Zapdos is spawning, now it's going to push. All right, and last but not least, like I said, I did have a final idea for y'all, and again, please leave me your thoughts. I think that there's some cool things about each one of these ideas that we could maybe mix and match and have like a really cool idea with. I was going to try to go for a top 5 list, but I couldn't think of a 5th thing, so I'm doing this as an extra added in point. This one would, when your team secures Zapdos, idea number 4, or the team that captures Zapdos, you would get a very large amount of XP. And basically what I wrote is instant level 15 for all allies. So now this buff isn't really just like a buff where you do a bunch of damage, but in a sense it kind of is, because you know, if you have like level 12s or 13s, 14s on your team, everybody on your team shoots up to level 15, so you're getting all of those passive stat increases, and then you get what is like, you know, you have the little buffs on your screen that like sit in the corner or at the bottom center of the like the UI. Well, you would get a passive max revive. Now what the max revive would do is very similar to like certain items in other MOBAs and things like that. In League of Legends it used to be called a Guardian Angel. I'm not sure if it's still in the game anymore. When you get knocked out or when you die in Unite, it would revive you in place with either full health or like half health. I'm not really sure. Max revive might be too much, so it could be a passive revive or it could be a passive max revive. And so this is kind of like that same thing, that same theme that I'm looking for, where you've secured this buff, this thing, this whatever, and now you have to push and close out the game. So if you and your team secured Zapdos, you get instant level 15, and then you're pushing. If they knock you out, well, then you get to revive and kind of continue that fight and try to close it out. So that's what I'm looking at, guys. I would love to know your ideas and what you think of these ideas. Does Zapdos need to change? Answer that question for me as well. But yeah, thank you so much for the support. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already for future Pokemon Unite content. Be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.